Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys, plus some thoughts on CJRB and Artisan Cutlery's new steel AR-SFII, which is the steel that is on this large pyrite alt, which is technically a version of the pyrite that I have not reviewed yet. I do like this. It's only slightly different than the other versions that I have experienced, but I thought might be a good opportunity to talk about AR-SFII. Sorry, the water's going off down here because the washing machine is going off upstairs, but this was a unique opportunity because I had a version of the large pyrite. It's not exactly the same, but very similar. This is the large pyrite light with a very, very similar blade, very similar geometry in AR-RPM9, which is CJRB and Artisan Cutlery's other proprietary steel. So I thought, yeah, I'll just do a very simple and non-scientific cut test and just see if AR-SFII is actually better, because they do charge more for it. So there's a number of other elements there, but it should at the very least hold an edge longer. So I'm going to talk about that today. Thanks so much to Artisan Cutlery and CJRB for sending these samples in. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me, and please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Okay, so what is AR-SFII? CJRB and Artisan Cutlery claim that it is essentially, or should perform very similarly to 154 cm, but this is spray form. They make it with spray form, just like they do AR-RPM9. Let me be very clear about this. I don't do these types of tests, right? There are much more qualified people out there to do the cut tests and the hardness tests and all of that. No, I'm a design reviewer, but I still like to know the details of some of this stuff. And sometimes when I have the opportunity to perform very, very simple tests, and I've got, I've got two good test subjects, I might do something real simple. So you'll just have to take my word for it, but it shouldn't be much of a problem because what I did would be tremendously easy. I made 50 cuts in cardboard just like this is the outside of the priority boxes, and I kind of cut down to where it started to fold. 50 cuts per knife, right? Just very simple, straightforward, all pretty much even. If you've ever used AR-RPM9, you'll know that 50 cuts in cardboard is not enough to dull it, but it's definitely enough to slow it down. So I knew for sure that that would fatigue the AR-RPM9, but I didn't know what would happen with the AR-SFII. Sorry, I just went and turned the washing machine off because it's starting to drive me crazy. But anyways, I am happy to report that AR-SFII appears to hold an edge longer. I'll make two very, very simple cuts here between the AR-RPM9 and the AR-SFII so that you guys can see. But I can feel this. It's kind of hard to demonstrate. The AR-RPM9 is a little bit more of a raggedy cut. It's still slicing and it's fine. There's nothing, wrong with this. You're just going to have to, it's going to need a touch up sooner. The AR-SFII, not only is it's still sharp, but it still feels really, really good. This is, neither one of them feel as good as they were, brand new, which both of these were. But now the bottom one here is the AR-SFII. It's just got a little bit more of a lip. I don't know if you guys can tell, right? A lot of this is just going to be you guys trusting me on what I'm feeling. But this it feels better, right? Now, better is one thing, right? It doesn't feel dramatically better, right? But it definitely feels better. They charge more money for AR-SFII. So for it to be a better choice, it has to be the whole package has to be bringing something that at least some people are going to find more beneficial than some of CJRB's less expensive options. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit, but again, much more testing needs to be done by much more qualified people. So today, I'm going to do this a little bit differently since this is so similar to the other variations of the pyrite that I've looked at, right, including the large pyrite. here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you guys some quick specs, very quick specs, and then I'm going to talk about where this steel needs to land in terms of price and what I think the company needs to be doing in order to really create something special. Because the truth is that assuming that this steel really does perform in a roundabout way, there's always going to be some parameters, assuming it really does perform in a roundabout way similar to 154 cm, they really are teetering on something special here. But there's a couple of things, right? Price and one other thing that I want to talk about. So anyways, thanks to my patrons for supporting me. Very quick specs on this, very quick specs. This is the larger alt, right? So overall length of this guy coming in at 8.75 inches, maybe slightly less, 8.7. Blade length, about 3.75. Cutting edge, maybe 3.35 inches. Size comparisons, just because it's right here, how about up against the large Pyrite Light? The large Pyrite Light is actually slightly shorter, but definitely still a knife that I would call a large. It's very strange, the different versions of the Pyrite. They have like the large and then kind of slightly less, but still large. Then they have medium size, slightly longer. It's flip-flopped in the Pyrite, their standard Pyrite series. And then they have these little tiny guys where the ones that should be called the mini Pyrite are called something completely different. And then the mini Pyrite has this blade shape, but exclusively this blade shape. What a mess, right? Whatever. You guys can you can check that out for yourselves if you want to. Let's do some size comparisons up against some other knives. Any custom sales you find in this section can be found down in the description under Original Goat and Others. Up against the 8010 and the 8020.5. It's obviously a fairly large knife. And then we're just going to do a couple more up against the Benchmade Reptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue and the Hogue Deca. How's the action? It's a CJRB button lock. They do a pretty good job. This has definitely a little bit of a metallic sound to it, like, pennies being thrown into a pile of pennies. Kind of like that, right? I don't love plunge locks. I've said this many, many times, and we're going to return to this. It's going to be a big part of this video. I would like to see the plunge lock die. I would like to see the age of the button lock die. We have better options. So many people have proven this, that we have options that can be implemented in budget knives that are factually superior and essentially operate with the same convenience and satisfaction, right? So yeah, the plunge lock thing, there are a lot of companies still writing this, and I'm sure that it's just less costly to stay with this for a little bit longer than it is to implement a brand new locking system. And obviously there's a lot of testing and that costs money and all of that stuff. But ever since the patent ended on a specific locking system, I cannot believe that every company out there has not aggressively, ferociously jumped on it, because we have companies doing very, very well with it. So anyways, it's fine. It operates just fine. Feels good, exactly like what you'd expect. I would not trust this locking system in a scenario where you're going to be cutting really hard and torquing on that blade, because any force, I'm not talking about idiotic spine whack tests on YouTube. I'm talking about any accidental or unintended force on the blade, torquing it has a much better chance of disengaging this particular locking system because of the way that a plunge lock engages with what I would refer to as the tang or the back of the blade, right? So, carry profile, thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. Yep, it's thin. Length and height, PM2 Para 3. This actually isn't a difficult sized or shaped object to carry, but it is stainless steel. Right? There's different versions of it. Like, for example, this one's going to be way lighter. But the stainless steel one, it feels solid, but it's definitely a lot heavier. We'll go ahead and weigh it real quick. Weight on this guy coming in at 5.2 ounces. Completely and totally unsurprising. Is there milling for weight reduction? Yes, there is. Speeding through the rest of this, we'll do the blade stock thickness here real quick. And then the hardware check, truthfully, it's exactly what you'd expect. It's T8 across the board. So you're looking at 104 thousandths, which is a good geometry, right? Okay, so the Pyrite is a good, this is a recommendable knife. It's a nice, safe profile. It's one that appeals to a lot of people. There is no reason to talk about whether or not this is a good design. It's already proven to be a good design. I like it. It's very simple, right? For a starting knife, for somebody who's just starting out, I think that, like, especially the smaller pyrite, like the standard pyrite light that you can get for like $30 is a great knife. There's such a good knife for $30, right? There are superior knives out there. There is a reason to spend a little bit more money. And one of those reasons, actually two of those reasons I have right here. So I'm going to talk about what I consider to be two of the greatest dollar for dollar knives in existence. This is the top liner lock version of the Vosteed Raccoon in micarta, and I think it's 14C28N. This either comes in at $70 or $75. I think it's $69 giggity, but it could come in as high as $75. And then we have the Civivi Vision FG with the Super Lock. I think the least expensive version of this comes in at $78, though periodically they go on sale, and they really do drop down into what I consider to be budget territory, which is $75 or less. Why are these superior? You're looking at the same general zone for materials, kind of, right? This comes in a wide variety of different scale materials, including micarta and G10. It also has Ultem, right? This one's micarta, but I think they also do G10. We have both of these things backed up with steel liners. This is nested. This is lipped fine, right? We have 14C28N, largely considered to be the best balanced composition in the budget territory. And then this guy, I think, is Nitro V. I think, right? It could be 14C28. It's fine. It's a great, great steel. This has the Super Lock designed by Snex, very easy to manipulate back here, and it is proven to be very, very strong and very reliable. It's also completely and totally ambidextrous. That's awesome. This is a great knife for $78. Great. Tell us something we don't know, Metal Complex. I'm getting there. The Raccoon. This is a top liner lock, aka compression lock, the same way the Spyderco compression lock locks up. The compression lock is factually superior to a standard liner lock, and honestly, I'd put my money on this over a frame lock and a number of other locking systems. Neither of these are as strong as the Triad lock, and that's really not the point, because both of these locking systems, right, are still dramatically overkill for a pocket knife, right? For somebody who's using a pocket knife responsibly and normally, like, this is overkill. But it's reliable, it's strong, it's easy to manipulate. This one actually operates via a button, but it's not a plunge lock. It pushes the compression lock over. This compression lock, rather than slipping underneath the tang, slips behind it, making the force required to disengage it much, much more than a standard liner lock. Vosteed is able to do this because the patent on the compression lock ended. Smart move, Vosteed. Now all you need to do is make more of these so that people can enjoy them. Assuming that Artisan Cutlery really did create their own 154 cm, right? Which again is going to require some more testing. That's pretty cool. That's really, really neat, because that's a great steel. That's one of my favorite user steels. Realistically, most people will probably not be able to tell the difference. Like, if you're using you've got a bunch of different knives in your rotation, and you're using Nitro V, you're using VG10, you're using AR-RPM9, 14C28N. Did I say that one already? Right? You're using N690, right? They're all right in there, kind of. Like, there's definitely like more or less toughness, more or less edge retention, more or less stainless qualities, right? But 154 cm, one thing we can agree on, regardless of your knowledge of metallurgy, mine's pretty low, is 154 cm is a good balance. It's a trustworthy balance. It's very friendly to all people of all walks in the knife world, right? Very easy to touch up, holds a reasonable edge, is stainless, and is reasonably tough, right? So that's cool if they really did make that a spray form version, right? Assuming that they did, let's assume for a second they did. If you guys would get rid of this plunge lock and do your own compression lock, right? Whether it's button operated or it's operated on the back like the Spyderco or whatever, right? And then you can get this steel implemented on knives like this that can, obviously you can charge less for because of the handle material, right? You have a recipe for a an amazing pocket knife, right? You really can't. I don't expect them to charge $40 for this imaginary magical combination here, but would they be competitive versus companies like Vosteed with their top liner lock Raccoon and Civivi with their Snex designed Vision FG? Oh my God, absolutely. Absolutely. If you can come in at 75 or less for that, which you should be able to do, right? This is a bigger knife. It's got a stainless steel frame, and then it has your new special steel, which they definitely want to use as a reason to charge a little bit more money, right? Change a few elements of this around and you can definitely get a little bit lower. Definitely, right? Maybe you don't quite fall into budget territory, but you're still competitive around that $80 mark. And I really think that they can do that. That's where I feel like this is going to shine, because I don't think that this is like, you know, it's going to be like, oh my gosh, like this AR-SF2 is this new magic steel that's outperforming everything. I don't think so. But maybe testing by more qualified people will reveal that it is. I don't know. But I think you potentially have, you have a few pieces to this puzzle. Puzzle. What the heck is a puzzle? That sounds gross. Puzzle with a Z, with two Z's actually, if my memory serves me correct. I haven't had to spell that word in a long time. But yeah, the plunge lock, the button lock, I want to see that go away. I think that's holding so many companies back, right? Civivi has a ton of them. Sencut has a ton of them, but they also mess around with different, you know, like they have systems like the Super Lock, but I just feel like they're missing this huge opportunity to not have something like this implemented. Now, it very, very much could be the fact that these companies are all way ahead. And it seems like they're behind, but they're way ahead, and they plan to implement some form of the compression lock in their budget knives or even their premium knives. And the reason that we haven't seen it yet is because of the amount of testing required. I actually have a little bit of insight here. I am talking with somebody directly who 100%, I'm not going to ruin anything because it's all kind of secretive right now, but they definitely plan to implement a compression lock at some point in their line. And the amount of testing that is required to get this system exactly right, it can be a little fickle. It is prone to lock stick, as we all know from experiencing however many Spydercos we've all experienced over the years, right? It's prone to that. So getting that balance between ease of manipulation, comfort of manipulation, reliability of lockup, right? All of that combined, and then being able to mass produce it and make sure that it operates the same way, given that you have varying sizes of this thing and varying sizes of blade, and it's little tiny things that can potentially not make it work right. I get why that might be a little bit more difficult, but it seems like once we had a knife with a button lock, maybe I don't remember the time it took for everybody to jump on board, but it seems like it was like bam, and everyone's like button locks everywhere. Everybody's got button locks. Oh my gosh, button locks, right? So the same thing with the crossbar lock. When the I mean, like, man, at first it was Benchmade, and then like Gonzo was like, yeah, we don't really care if there's a patent, we're just going to do it. And then as soon as the patent ended, all of the, you know, companies who have integrity, sorry, Gonzo, you guys suck, you guys clone everything, right? But they clearly don't care. But all the companies who had at least a little more integrity started releasing their knives with crossbar locks. And it seems like everybody figured that out pretty quickly. So I don't know exactly what's going on, but I feel like, you know, Artisan Cutlery, CJRB, if you guys are able to produce what seems to be a reasonable quality of steel, right? I could be totally wrong. We could have some extensive testing done on this stuff, and it could turn out to be no different in terms of performance, you know, versus AR-RPM9, right? My stupid little 50 cut test on cardboard doesn't necessarily prove anything, right? I'm just giving you guys my very basic thoughts, but I would like to see a change in locking system that would spice up a line of knives that, in my opinion, needs it or could really, I'm not saying that it's boring, because I think they release a lot of really cool stuff, but it's just like crossbar lock. Do they have liner locks? Most of them, it seem to be button locks in that, right? There's an opportunity there. That's it. That's all I have to say about it. This is going to be helpful for some people and not for others, but just wanted to give you guys my thoughts. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.